Hello everybody and welcome once again to The Brink. My name is Ben and it's a pleasure to be back with you because it has been quite some time since you have heard my voice or anyone's voice, 3 or 4 weeks to be precise, and we've had a few weeks off, but that doesn't mean that we weren't ever going to come back. We're always going to come back and at least bring you one more episode for the month of May, and of course you're probably expecting to hear somebody else's voice, and she's not here. Well, she actually is here. The good news is Mallory is finally in the country after all the months of waiting. She's here, so that is the good news. But she's not here on the episode this week, but we still wanted to bring you one episode even if she wasn't on the show. So she's alive, she's well, she's busy. She's a busy little bee back here in her home place of Canada, but she will return no doubt at some point. We have plenty to keep you occupied this week. A couple of returning favourites, which is always exciting. I'm sure that you've been longing for the voices of the people that you hear on the show today, and longing for my voice, longing for everyone's voice to keep you entertained if you're listening to us in quarantine or wherever you are listening to us around this big planet. It's actually interesting given that it's about to be winter for Australia and summer for us here in Canada, something that I am slowly getting used to, the fact that this is how things are done in this part of the world. But hey, that's how life is when it comes to being on the opposite end of the planet. Without further ado, though, I'm not going to continue on with this introduction. It's pretty boring. You want to hear the juicy stuff. Let's get to the better stuff in this episode. And I'm going to play a transition sound and move straight into that next point. Well, thank you, Ben. The next point is right now, as we're going to get into Days of Our Pies again, because we left Ramsay Bay hanging. The last time you heard it was episode 5 of season 3, which means now that we have to get to episode 6 of season 3. How's that going to turn out? Let's find out.
Previously on Days of Our Pies. Oh my god, Prime Minister David Bartlett just destroyed Launceston!
We need to get on a Usain Bolt's back and he will take us to Launceston to once and for all stop the evil David Bartlett destroying the rest of the world.
My lord, what was that? Dip-Dap-Dee, you are dead! I saw you die!
No, you stupid earthling, that was my brother! I am Dip, and I am here to kill you all!
Like pastry in the oven, these are the days of our pines.
After just watching Launceston being destroyed on TV, the League of Awesome Celebrities had just gotten a visit from Dip, the brother of Season 1 evil alien Dip-Dap-Doo, who was the brains behind the destruction of all cities so far, and he was preparing to kill everyone in front of him.
You stupid earthlings, you are such a stupid race, and now we are here to finally destroy you all!
Oh no! My children! I can't die! I can't!
Ah, shut up, Michael Jackson. Everyone always thinks you're dead anyway. Why are you doing this, Dip? It's not fair to us human beings.
Yeah, and you are just a big smelly poo head!
I just told you. Gee, you are all dumb. How about you listen to me for once?
All of a sudden, Usain Bolt and Hugh Grant launched a super bomb they had made towards Dip's spaceship, causing it to explode and debris to fly everywhere. Quick man, get on my back. Let's go to Launceston and stop the Prime Minister. All of the group get on the back of Usain Bolt, who sprints all the way from silly Nanesville to Launceston in world record time. There they are immediately confronted by the Prime Minister David Bartlett about his actions.
I say, Prime Minister, your game is up! We just destroyed your little alien friend, and now you must surrender!
Shut your mouth, woman. He will never surrender. How would you know that, butthead? He just might one day. Will not, will so, will not, will so.
For God's sake, you two, will you just shut up? I am confident that no, I will not surrender, and that no, you guys are pretty stupid if you think that's all the aliens that are controlling me in the world.
What are you talking about, you silly man?
He's talking about that there are lots more aliens ready to help us destroy Australia and the world.
I really don't understand why you are doing this, destroying our country to a group of smelly alien scum.
Oh, baby, oh, yeah, I agree. Why?
Typical liberals. I am confident that you will never understand my reasons, and I am confident that my two sidekicks, Adam and Gary, are about to give you a present. Oh, a present? How marvelous. Please give me those splendid presents to me. Like, totally hard? Is it pink? If so, that'll be like totally hard. I disagree. I think presents are wrong. You're wrong. You're all wrong. Your face is wrong. Winch, winch, winch.
Oh God, will you just shut up? Don't tell them to shut up. That's up to me to tell them to shut up. It's not. It's so.
Will you two both just shut up and give them the present?
Oh, alright, here you go.
Oh, baby! Thank you! What is it? It's ticking!
Oh my god, that's like so pretty. It's hot. It's so hot. Oh my god, like it's burning. Ah! Ouch!
Oh my God! Run away! It's a hot bomb! Who on earth survived yet another bomb explosion in this series? What made the bomb so hot that Paris Hilton dropped it? Where are the other aliens that Prime Minister David Bartlett mentioned? And how come I don't seem to get that many lines in this series? Find out next time on Days of Our Pies!
Wow. Yeah, my noises don't really get any better with a few weeks off. Voices and noises, that's a weird thing to kind of compare it to, but hey, cool. There we go. You've gotten it. You're excited. You're welcome, world. Given we haven't been on air for a few weeks, it means that we can talk to this person because apparently there's some law that says we must only talk every few weeks with him, even though I think we've broken that rule before. I have no idea what I'm talking about. Colin Hilding's with us. Hello, Colin. Welcome back.
Is that new rule like some type of social Skype distancing?
Yes. It's also because we're still using Skype and not Zoom. We're not down with the kids. Yeah. Because I don't actually want to see your face. I like just hearing your voice. That's all I need.
We are so old on this Skype.
How are we old on Skype? This is ridiculous. Like it's honestly.
We talked about that the other day, didn't we?
I know. It's so dumb that you're made to feel old because of Skype. I'm being Skype shamed. Like, oh, Skype. You're so old. God, go back and walk with the dinosaurs or something.
I think I kind of made this joke over the weekend when I was breaking the law talking to you more than once in a week. But it's like overnight it's become the MySpace. And you have to wonder, at what point did it just become a known thing? Oh, MySpace.
Yeah. Poor Tom. Tom was everyone's friend, sitting there in your top 10 places. And there he was, Tom, looking all good. And yet Mark Zuckerberg's no one's friend on Facebook. He just changes it. And anyway, NHL, Colin, let's be honest right now and say at the time of recording this, we're expecting some form of announcement this afternoon about this new format they're trying to do. I don't know if there's going to be an announcement of whether or not we're coming back soon or anything like that. So clearly this segment is very dated by the time people hear it. But you don't know much about this. I've apparently just quickly spoken to you before you record. And you're like, oh, no, I only found out about this. And it's a funny story. So, Colin, I want to hear this funny story.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a funny story to anybody who has either been married or I guess you're close enough or had children. But I had, a little bit of time to kill before I had to start work. So I was sitting on the couch and, watching TV and they started announcing something of the NHL. And immediately, Jamie decided to start talking to me and saying, oh, okay, well, going on and on about something unimportant. I don't know. I wasn't really paying attention, but I guess it's kind of the point. But I wish I could just set up the visual here. I was staring at the TV. She was standing in front of me saying, okay, so the plan is this and this and this. I'm like, and I'm actually moving my head around her trying to see the TV as they're like, NHL is going to be making an announcement today. And I heard something about a December start for a new season and something. But the whole time she just kept talking and I kept, and I'm sure she bought that I was paying attention to her, although I still have no clue what she was saying. But sadly, I also missed what they were saying on TV. So you're going to have to fill me in.
Well, okay then. And this is all based on stuff that I've read on the internet. And I have no connection to the NHL themselves, but the commissioner, Gary Bettman, or whatever his name is meant to be making this afternoon at the time of recording this. But they're basically saying that they're going to jump straight into the playoffs. They're going to do a 24-team playoff bracket. because there's about 6 teams or so that are kind of on the cusp of making it, and there's a whole bunch that clearly are not going to make it. There's 7 teams that won't be in this. And basically how it will work, you will have teams in each conference ranked 5 through to 12 who will play each other off in a best-of-5 series, and then the winner of those series will play teams ranked 1 to 4 in the conference. They will get a bye in the first round and kind of play each other off get some match practice and I guess some seeding for them as well. And then we just go straight into the regular Stanley Cup playoff, 16 teams, all that kind of jazz. So basically 6 extra teams, it looks like, 8 extra teams, if my math is actually correct, Ben, which means that the Vancouver Canucks will make the playoffs. As with the Montreal Canadiens. And who else is 12th in the West? That would be Chicago making the playoffs. What kind of ridiculousness is this? They haven't been good since 2010.
I was going to say, it feels like it's 2010 all over again. Chicago in the playoffs.
It is. But I can go through these matchups for you in just a second because I'm sure you're dying to know who Toronto will lose to. But how do you think that sounds? A 2014 playoff to kind of, get these teams that I guess would have maybe been in contention if the regular season had been able to be finished.
I'm glad that they're expanding it because I think the plan, whether it was a plan or not, what people were discussing among those who are knowledgeable as internet critics and not so much anybody involved in NHL were saying it would be reduced teams for the playoffs. This was a couple months ago. And I didn't like that idea, because so many things can change. The idea that, yes, this team was out of contention, but they had enough games left that they could have made it. Like, it is giving everybody a fair shot. A best of 5 series, though, I mean, if we're running that many series, when is this going to be over? Like, was that December thing I was hearing about not the start of the next season, but when they expect these playoffs are going to be over? Because this sounds like it's going to go on for a long time.
Based on what I have read, they are pushing to get something started in June. Clearly, the issues are all around getting the international players in. Where are they playing this? And, if you do it in Canada, certain places have 14-day lockdowns, or the whole country does, I guess. If you do it in America, they're looking at maybe doing it in Vegas just because it's essentially the hotel space and the facilities there and all that sort of stuff. So I'm sure once they lock all that in, if they can start in June, we might be finished by December so that we can start a new season. I don't know. But it's what's really interesting is so that in each conference, the 4 teams in each side that are basically getting a shot at the playoffs when right now, if you were to just do it, the top 16 wouldn't get a chance. So in the East, you have Columbus, Florida. When was the last time they made the playoffs? The Rangers and Montreal. And then in the West, Winnipeg will sneak in. Minnesota, Arizona will make the playoffs. That's a weird sentence. And Chicago, as I mentioned. So they're the ones who are kind of on the cusp that will get this extra chance. And I mean, it's fair enough, I think, going into the playoffs as well, because there were some teams, like I think somebody from Detroit was basically saying, like, well, why do we want to come back and play 2 weeks worth of games when we've got nothing to play for and risking our players? We'd rather just switch focus to next season because our season's done, basically. So at least this way, these teams have got something to play for. And then even the top 4, so obviously top 4 in each conference will still play each other like it's sort of a warm-up game, even though they have the byes. So Boston, Tampa, Washington, and Philadelphia, and then St. Louis, Colorado, Vegas, and Dallas. They'll still play each other off for the seeding, essentially, of then who will play each other. So, I mean, everyone wins here. I mean, God, Florida and Arizona, they're going off right now.
Yeah, I hope that they give away one of those participation ribbons because that's kind of what it sounds like at this point when you say teams like, Florida and Chicago and Arizona. But I mean, it's going to be more fun because I mean, we've seen so many playoffs where the regular season never actually matters. And then the team who ends up winning is one who barely snuck into the playoffs, and how crazy would it be if there's one of these teams that was sort of on the fringe that wouldn't have even made it if you did a traditional playoffs and they end up winning the whole thing? Like, that'll be nuts.
And it's also, you got to factor in the fact that a lot of these people haven't been able to get on the ice, haven't been able to practice. They might only have a couple of weeks to train, then that might change things completely. The German football league started the Bundesliga a couple of weeks ago, and they sort of noted that there was so many injuries in that space of that first round just because these players aren't up to their prime condition. I know the Australian rugby competition is starting this week. The Australian Football League starting in a couple of weeks too. So it'll be kind of interesting with all this. But it's also, of course, this is all going to be played in front of no crowds. It's going to be dead silent. So for Arizona, it will be like a playoff atmosphere for them already. So they're in with a shot.
Yeah, you know what I actually find most interesting about this is when you have these teams that are used to not playing in front of crowds, are they now going to have the home team advantage?
Yeah.
Because so many of these American markets, like I think about when the Winnipeg Jets moved here from Atlanta, they had tried a Save the Thrashers rally, and they had like almost less people show up to a free Save the Thrashers rally than they were getting who are paying tickets to see the game, which was concerning, which is why they lost them to Winnipeg. But typically, if you have a really good crowd, if you are, a city like Boston, it's a big hockey market. Sorry to bring up Boston again. Or Los Angeles is another big one. Like there is a big advantage. And if you're not playing in front of a crowd, does that mean that the advantage is now on the teams who are used to playing for nobody? Because Winnipeg is one of those teams that is kind of known, as long as even before they were able to make the playoffs, as just being a team that had incredible home game records, but they would fall apart on the road. Now you're going to have no home crowd, I guess, rooting you on. It's going to be even worse for those teams. Like I'm going to be really interested once this thing ends to see if home crowds actually do matter.
Well, 6 of the 7 Canadian teams will make the playoffs based on this format. Only Ottawa won't make it. So you would assume that all the Canadian teams, live on that advantage generally as well. But the current, if this was to be confirmed today, and again, by listening to this now, hopefully it already has been confirmed, based on how it will work, it would be team ranked 5th who would play ranked 12th team. Then it would be 8th versus 9th, 7th versus 10th, 6th versus 11th. So looking here for your beloved Leafs, Colin Hilding, as you are 8th currently right now in the East, you would be playing the Columbus Blue Jackets in the first round. Iconic matchup, traditional rivals, head-to-head. It's Ontario versus Ohio. I mean, how do you feel about that? Gosh, what a tough first-round matchup against your heated rivals.
Yeah, Columbus proved themselves last year to a certain extent. I think Toronto also has proven themselves in the last couple of years. The difference is Toronto has proven that they're unable to beat Boston. I think any other team, they have a shot. So I was just waiting the whole time for you to not say Boston. And now that you haven't said Boston, we're in. We've got it. This is a lock.
Well, Colin, I will say right now that if you were to win this series and Boston remained the number 1 seed, you would play Boston in the next round.
It's all over. Start again next season.
I mean, the good news, though, against Columbus, you can't lose in Game 7 because it's only a 5-game series.
Yeah,
so
there you go.
You've got a chance. Also in the East, so Pittsburgh would be playing Montreal. That's 5th versus 12th. The Islanders would be playing Florida. That's 7th versus 10th. And the Carolina Hurricanes would be playing the New York Rangers, 6th versus 11th. And in the West, here's the only all-Canadian matchup. Calgary will play Winnipeg in the play-in round. Edmonton will play Chicago. Vancouver will play Minnesota. And Nashville will play Arizona. Wow. Traditional rivals, Nashville versus Arizona in hockey. My goodness. It's like Toronto versus Montreal, but in America. Wow. No one would turn up to that playoff series if that was in front of crowds, though. I mean, maybe Nashville, they would. They actually do like their hockey there. But, God, does Arizona even realize that they're still in the NHL?
Have you seen the movie Major League?
I have not. Oh, years ago, but not for a while.
Okay. I just rewatched it the other day because it was gone from Amazon Prime and it was back on Amazon Prime. And one of the funniest moments in that whole movie is when Tom Berenger is like the lead character. When he sits down at Rene Russo's house, he sort of accidentally walks in on some dinner party she has. And there's all these, rich, sophisticated people there. And he's having introduced himself. Oh, I'm a professional baseball player. I was like, whoa, who do you play for? It's like, I play here in Cleveland for the Indians. And like, I didn't know we still had a team. And that's what I think about when you say that. I didn't even know we had a team.
Wow.
But that's the former Jets. So they may still be more followed by people in Winnipeg in their former hometown than they are in, wherever they are, Glendale, Phoenix, wherever it is now. Going back to one of the things you said before about the players, this layoff and everything. Preseason, you notoriously get some bad hockey, but it's always sort of chalked up to, well, they're trying out new players, they're trying out new lineups. It's basically a wash anyways. None of this counts against you, so do whatever you want to do. But I actually wonder if this layoff coming into a heated series is going to prove that preseason is really nothing more than, working off your ice rust, because we could see some truly disastrous hockey in that first round of even the second round once those top 4 teams eventually get a chance to play. And there's the other thing. Those top 4 teams, are they at an even more disadvantage because they're going to have an extra week or 2 weeks layoff while these other teams are starting to get in some practice, even though they are the lower seeded teams?
Yeah, you'd think so, maybe, because I know last season we had all these sweeps happening in every single round, didn't we? But basically then the team that swept someone then got swept themselves or something like that. So it was very unpredictable last year. But yeah, no, it's a good point. But I think they're sort of talking about, given that basically all these games are going to be probably in the one city, that they might have to do a lot of, a lot quicker turnaround than they're used to as well. I know in like the AFL and the NRL in Australia, they're doing, some different rules around, how many players you can have. And I know in the AFL, for instance, they're actually shortening the quarters. So that instead of 20 minutes, they're only going to be 15 minutes and kind of allowing some, different rules here and there to kind of compensate for the long turnarounds and layoffs that they've had. So, it's going to be interesting. But I think I asked you this question a few weeks ago, that basically at the end of this series, if it gets up and running, I mean, there's always kind of going to be a little question mark or an asterisk against whoever wins the Stanley Cup this season, right?
Yeah. But if, the announcement, which by the way, we're just killing another hour and 15 minutes for this announcement to be made. So you're in for the long haul. If this announcement does go along with one of those things I overheard, in between ignoring my wife, that I guess that the new season will start as of December. So they're going to have a shortened season next year. You're going to say the same thing next year for whoever wins that too. So, and who knows how long this will go on for them. And I doubt it's going to last for more than 2 seasons now, but there's going to be a bit of a reprieve when another team kind of has to go through this again next year, or I guess at a different level. So maybe some of it will be forgiven. I mean, it's good that we at least have a finish to the season. It's not like when they have these lockouts and everything. One other thing that I did over here in between ignoring Jamie this morning was about, I guess, their attempt at distancing in the locker room, that there would be something like no more than 6 players in any given locker room. So they're going to have multiple locker rooms for teams, and you only have 6 players in there. But again, if they have this quick turnaround where they want to have, one series go and then you have another series going later that afternoon in whatever venue, now you got to clean, who knows, like a half a dozen different locker rooms for all these players.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of hired cleaning staff, I feel, at some point. Or maybe just bring in the extra 7 teams. Like, hey, Detroit, want to come clean the Tampa Bay room? There it is. You got something to do.
Want your
pay
playoff
you
bonuses?
Yeah.
Pick up a mop.
San Jose, here's a spoon. Starts, digging out all the fungus from in between the benches or something like that. It's actually an interesting stat I read was that this would be the first time in a long time, I can't remember the exact number of years, that all 3 California teams have missed the playoffs. There you go. It's weird to think that, and poor old Anaheim, I think, will finish down near the bottom completely. Not that that's unexpected. But I mean, imagine, you said it before, imagine if Chicago knock off Edmonton and then they play the number 4 seed that right now would be Dallas, knock off Dallas, then potentially play St. Louis, and then, Chicago end up winning the Stanley Cup. There would be a huge asterisk against them. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Chicago, this team that has sucked in nearly a decade, they've won a Stanley Cup. What the hell?
Yeah, that is going to be ultimately what it comes down to, is which team wins. Because if you get a top team that ends up winning this, then nobody's going to question it. But if you get one of those teams that were on the bubble winning, then that's when it's sort of like, well, it doesn't really count.
Again, that's the thing we mentioned when we brought this up last time. Toronto win. Who gives a shit?
Yeah, exactly.
Still counts. We won a Stanley Cup. Shut up.
Drought is over.
It's completely done with. What else has been happening? How's Winnipeg? You guys opening up? People visiting? What's happening there?
Really nothing's different from the last phase. I mean, the thing that I'm most excited about is that they've announced what phase 2 of reopening will include, which is going to include daycares being allowed to have up to 24 kids. So I'm excited at the idea that, more so for Jamie's sake, but for mine, for the couple hours a day where I'm not at work, that there's potentially going to be an opportunity to get rid of a kid for a day, because it does drive you crazy after a while, especially when you got screaming twins and then another one who's climbing up on top of shelves in their closet. So that's exciting. I've noticed more cars on the road. I think that's the biggest thing. I mean, Manitoba's weird in a way. It doesn't seem like, even those people who are allowed to go out are really choosing to. Every store that has been open, like I had to stop in a couple places. We needed a new couch, because again, that child that we desperately want to get in daycare kind of wrecked our couch. So I went into a furniture store, which had really just opened a few days earlier, and there were 2 people in the store. And the clerks or whatever looked like they were falling asleep. I go into Walmart and the lineups don't seem to have changed from before. But then the Starbucks has a lineup going, half a block, if not more, away. So I think the only thing that's really changed is people are going to Starbucks. But I know I've talked to a lot of people who are saying, okay, yes, the malls are open now, but I'm not going to go for quite a while. So I don't know, maybe we're just a very paranoid province, or maybe people are just used to sitting at home and they just don't care anymore.
It's Manitoba. You don't go outside. You sit in front of a heater.
Yeah.
It's summer. No, stay inside. It's weird because
I was going to say, I'm curious to know what your weather's like, because we've had a ridiculously hot last couple weeks where I think we've been pushing 30 degrees Celsius every single day. And our daytime high, or our normal, I guess, of our daytime high should be like 19 or 20 degrees this time of year. And we're like 10 degrees above the normal, which usually what you get is people who are complaining, oh, it's so nice outside, I wish I could go outside. And now that everybody's stuck at home, and I guess a lot of them without air conditioners, there has been a flood of people posting on Facebook, on Instagram or whatever, just complaining about the heat. And I'm like, well, you clearly worked in an office place with central air before now, because this was never a problem in Manitoba until now. It's too hot.
It's this week, it's warming up slightly. We're going to get into the 20s. It's sort of a couple of weeks ago, we had some like mid-20s days, but then it sort of dropped into sort of the teens again. But it's sporadic. I mean, it rains here a bit. Hails here a lot. I've never been in a place, I think, where it hails so frequently. But
hail's fun.
I love hail. Yeah, absolutely. But I think it's, from what I've been told from people, of course, you've got to know I've only lived here for 2 months, then it's kind of normal weather, I guess. So, yeah, I mean, it's sort of interesting in BC. They've introduced phase 2 here like a week ago, which it's odd because in New Zealand, it was the opposite. So, like, phase 2 was good. Like, as in, like, phase 4 was the worst, like, lockdown, complete lockdown, stay home, don't breathe, you will die. And like, phase 1 is like, everything is normal, go back to living. Whereas here, it's kind of, obviously, level 1 is kind of like that you will die, stay inside. Level 2, bit better. Level 3, yeah, it's getting there. Level 4, go out and look at Justin Trudeau's butt. Basically, that's kind of what it is. So
sniff it if you want.
Sniff it, yeah. But on Vancouver Island, there hasn't been a new case now in 3 weeks, essentially. And I think there's only 1 active case now. Everyone else has recovered. So it's... and people are just kind of doing normal things in a way. Not really. They're not gathering in crowds and that. But I mean, people stay home. But like when I went to Costco the other day, I was in the door. Like when I walked in the door, I didn't have to line up for an hour. It was normal. I was like, oh, cool. Hi, Costco. Let's go inside. Wicked.
That's. I avoid Costco at all costs because there's still lineups here. There's the one big difference. Every other store we have here is completely empty and free of lineups, despite them being closed for months and people not being able to go there. And Costco, it's like, I talk to people like, oh yeah, I was indoor in about half an hour. But why are you people going to Costco still? There are 3 other stores within your eyesight right now that have no lineups.
The last time I had to line up to go in somewhere was actually Dollar Tree. And I'm like, I want my hockey cards, let me in.
Which, you mentioned the hockey cards and even the sticker album. I'm still on the hunt for a sticker album because I went to Walmart because the stickers, they sold them at the dollar store. But you said, oh, no, I got the album at Walmart. So I went to Walmart. They have the stickers, but no album. So I'm like, I may have to order this online at this point because so far it's gone toilet paper, hand sanitizer, and sticker albums for 2019-2020 NHL season.
Well, I definitely know they're on Amazon. I got Mallory because Mallory decided she wants to get the stickers now too, and I may or may not have bought a box of 50 packets the other day off Amazon. But there are definitely albums on Amazon too. Fun story, actually, just quickly as well. Speaking of cards and that, I joined a Facebook group, like a hockey trade and sell group. And I posted in there just saying like, hey, Aussie here, returning to card collecting, first time since I was a kid. These are the ones I need. Also, randomly, if anyone has a Nathan Walker card, I don't know if that exists because the guy played like 2 games and still got a Stanley Cup ring, would love to, possibly get one. So I got contacted by this guy from the aptly named town of Moose Jaw in Saskatchewan. Love the name of that place. And he had a card, was willing to send it to me. We got talking. Long story short, he has literally sent me a package filled with, as he says, surprises and goodies that he has not even charged me for. He has taken a picture of the envelope, which the package actually, it's like a mini parcel. On this package, he's put like stickers from every single NHL team in Canada, with the exception of Edmonton and Vancouver, which I had to laugh at those 2 teams missing. and he sent it to me for free. So I'm like, wow, okay, thanks, random guy in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. I haven't received it yet, but all I wanted was one Nathan Walker card, and I'm ending up with a packet of something.
Now, was that guy's name Nathan Walker? That's what I'm wondering.
Maybe it's his father. He moved to Moose Jaw. Have you been to Moose Jaw? Who calls a place Moose Jaw?
I remember, what was it? I think it was off the podium because that's when we started the Flin Flon thing that you had mentioned. Did you know that there's a city in Canada named this? And you mentioned some name, and I'm like,
Beaver something, nothing. Wasn't it?
What was it?
I think it was a beaver place.
Maybe. All I remember was that for Canadian city terms, it was pretty tame. And I'm like, oh, forget that. And I think I told you at the time, I'm like, we've got a Flin Flon, we got a Moose Jaw, we have a Medicine Hat. we got a lot of really odd names. Kamloops is a fun one.
Yep. I know in Tasmania, we there's a map that went around for a while of kind of weird places. Like we've got Eggs and Bacon Bay and Bust Me Neck Hill and just like kind of like little random things. But yeah, I just Moose Jaw is great. I mean, I'm still a little boy deep at heart that I laugh that you got a place called Regina. So,
Well, forget that. There is, I'm pretty sure, maybe it's spelt differently, but I am pretty sure there is a Placenta, Newfoundland.
Oh, wow. Placenta. Can we get a T-shirt made of that?
There we go. Placentia. They have an I in there. So Placentia, Newfoundland.
I only discovered the other day there's an island off the coast of Newfoundland that basically has it's essentially part of France. Like you catch a boat there, you've got to show your passport, and they have like the euro, and it's a legal place of France. So there you go. We can go to France in a day or two, maybe. Might take longer than that. Canada's a bit bigger than I'm thinking, Ben. But yes, Moose Jaw. There we go. Add it to our bucket list, Colin. Flin Flon and Moose Jaw, and then Placenta.
Yeah, we'll make sure to stop at Kamloops and Flin Flon and Moose Jaw. Any silly name. It'll be the silly name road trip.
I think I've been to Kamloops. That's in BC, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Why do I feel like I've been there, or at least looked at it or something?
Are you there right now?
No, maybe I am. Maybe I am in Kamloops. I don't know. Like I actually legitimately feel like I've been through it, or I saw a sign that said it. Oh no, okay. I'm looking where it is on a map. Okay, no, I've been to Kelowna, and I know where it is in relation to Kelowna. Okay, but yes, Kamloops because there's loops of Cam stuff there. Anyway, that's it. Anything else exciting before I let you go, Mr. Hilding?
It's Manitoba. There's never anything exciting.
All right. Well, good luck with not doing anything, and I'm going to go have a bowl of Kamloops.
All right.
Classic interview time, and from time to time we don't often play interviews that were specifically on the Brink. We, of course, have lots of sister shows, many shows under our umbrella, and this one's actually from a little show called High Noon, which was sort of, let's be honest, it was the Brink, but it was just a lunchtime show that lasted for a few months back in 2017 when I returned to Edge Radio. They wanted it changed and named different, and let's have something slightly different, but it was the Brink. We all know it was exactly the same show, but we were lucky enough at the time to interview the Michael Jordan of Australian basketball, the one, the only Mr. Andrew Gaze. Of course, I was doing a little bit of work for the Hobart Chargers at the time, and he was coming down to be the coach of the Melbourne Tigers, who were playing the Hobart Chargers on the week that this interview aired. So, without further ado, let's hear my interview from 2017 with the legendary Mr. Andrew Gaze from the legendary show that was High Noon.
It's a very exciting moment right now here on High Noon to be able to continue our basketball theme episode today and introduce our next guest. And we love to do our fun intro for our guests, and this could be the funnest one I've ever done, because right now we are about to be joined by the one, the only Mr. Andrew Gaze, pretty much the greatest ever basketballer ever to grace the basketball court here in Australia. He is the coach of the Melbourne Tigers in the CBL, as well as the coach of the Sydney Kings in the NBL, and he also is very well known for carrying a flag into a stadium back in 2000 during a small event in Australia called the Olympics. In his spare time, he also likes to enjoy watching Space Jam and try to really get some tips and advice from the Toon Squad, who came from that great behind win to beat the Monstars all the way back in the 90s. Please welcome to High Noon, Mr. Andrew Gaze. Andrew, that's probably the weirdest introduction you've ever been given in any radio show in your entire life. Apologies for that.
No problems at all. It was a long one. There's no doubt about that. But you know what? I don't know where the information comes from. I've never really seen Space Jam, so I'm not sure what all that's about. But it certainly featured one of my all-time greats, and one of the all-time greats, if not the greatest ever, and that is, of course, the great Michael Jordan. So but great to be here and looking forward to the game tonight.
I thought you were talking about Bugs Bunny there for a second, Andrew. I thought, wow, he's really getting talked up this morning. It's exciting to have you here, because this is a big game tonight for many reasons. Obviously, the Melbourne Tigers back at the Derwent Entertainment Centre up against the Hobart Chargers. Now, this must rekindle some memories from you, Andrew, because, you know, the 90s, the great period of the NBL. I remember going to the Hobart Devils games back in the day to watch you play, way back then. But this is being billed as a big match to really rekindle these memories of when you used to come back to play for the Tigers back in those days.
Well, both these teams do have a history in the NBL, and they were great days back then. And, we as a club is continuing to strive to be the best it possibly can be, and has a long-term aspirational goal of one day returning to the NBL. And I think the Hobart Devils are in a similar category. They probably are a lot closer, given where they're at as far as their team and the infrastructure they've got around them, and playing in that stadium. It's a beautiful stadium. It's absolutely NBL quality, and they're getting great support. And more importantly for the locals is that they've got a fantastic team and won their first two games in very, very impressive fashion. So it's going to be a tough assignment for us, but we're looking forward to it. We're continuing to grow as a group, and hopefully we can get to test ourselves in a positive way against what many people believe is going to be the team to beat for the title this season. It's
been a great atmosphere so far at the deck, and, the crowd sort of getting behind it. And, as you said, sort of the stadium that really, we love to get behind our teams, of course. And we want to try and create that atmosphere to maybe hamper you guys a little bit, Andrew. But is it so obviously playing in sort of the competition from the CBL here? You're coaching during the NBL season as well, but this is your time in the CBL. How is it to come to venues like the Derwent Entertainment Centre, that, as you were saying, sort of are ready really for the NBL, but in sort of a smaller competition? I mean, it must give some of these players on your team particularly a bit of a boost then to really play in front of these bigger crowds and in a bigger venue maybe that they're perhaps used to playing in front of.
Yeah, spot on. A lot of the guys in the CBL also participate in the NBL as well. So for some of them, it's just par for the course. But we had practice last night, and in our preparation for the game, we were talking about just this great opportunity we have to play in a fantastic environment, albeit that it's one that's not going to be overly supportive towards us. But nevertheless, it's one that really motivates the guys. They like to play in these types of venues where the fans are engaged in the game, and it's going to be a tough assignment for us. They've got a great team, and Anthony Stewart, their coach, is doing a fantastic job in the way in which he's put their team together. And he's got one of my boys in there, in Tommy Garlip, who's a Sydney King, and he's spending a bit of time in Hobart as well. So although I'm familiar with how he goes about it, he's one of the elite players in the CBL, so it's going to be a a real tough assignment for our group to be able to contain him and the entire Hobart team.
How do you go into that, knowing that, as you were saying, you used to coaching him basically all season long in the NBL, and here you are, a month or so later, and he's playing against you. I mean, that must kind of be weird, but also give you a slight advantage, I guess, for your boys, because you've coached him in one way, now you're coaching against him.
I wish I could, but at this level, Tommy is really, really dominant, and I'm sure he's probably going to be out there wanting to put on a display and let me know that I should be playing him more. And, but it's fun. It's fun to have that challenge. And for us, it is going to be an enormous challenge. He's been a big focus of our preparation and the better job we can do on him and containing him, the better chance we have of winning the game. But it's tough. He's got great size, 6'8", can put the ball to the floor, and in the first 2 games is shooting the ball extraordinarily well, and because he's a smart guy, he's a smart basketballer, and he doesn't get to train with the Hobart team as much as he'd like, because he's commuting a little bit from Sydney to Hobart. But when you watch them play, it's seamless. So it's going to be tough for us, and hopefully he takes it easy on us, but we'll certainly be doing whatever we can to try and contain him.
So will Stewie kind of come to you before or after the game and say, thanks for coaching him really well because he's playing really well for us? Or then do you have to kind of take credit for that in the next season for the Kings and say, thanks, Stewie, for coaching him really well. We want to put him back more on the team?
Tommy's been around a long time. He's played in the Seagulls before. He played with Bendigo. He's played with a number of different teams in the NBL, and he's at that age where, of course, he's continuing to learn, but he's very much an established player and does what his strengths are really, really well, and that is shoot the ball. He's getting better at rebounding, even though he's a veteran of this particular competition. He still see areas of his game that's improving. So it's one I don't think Stewie or I can take too much credit for, and we just got to heap praise on Tommy and of course, hopefully tonight. Normally I'm back and throwing him right behind and trying to pump him up, but I hope he has an absolute stinker tonight and is unable to score and goes away mumbling and grumbling and disappointed.
Right. Well, I'm courtside Spruker tonight, Andrew, so I'll make sure to really pump him up as well in case you're there giving him crap on the side. Now, big game again, as for many reasons, as we're obviously talking about, but for you guys, start the season 1-1, tough win over Sandringham, just a very close game before going down to Dandenong. So I guess for many reasons as well, just for your season, important on many factors to try and get back on the winners list and really get your season going.
Yeah, absolutely. We have been only recently got back into the Seabull, and it's still very much a development process we're going to try and establish a group that can carry us on to the future, and we're not there yet. Unfortunately, Bo Lu, our big guy, he's 6'9", Chinese player that we had. He unfortunately has been called back to state duties in China, so we won't have him for the next few weeks, and he may not return. So that's a significant setback for us, and we've been able to pick up Nate Tomlinson, who's got some NBL experience, but we're very small. So I think we're realistic about where we're at. We've got a long way to go. This is a chance for us to test ourselves against one of the elite teams in the competition, and it's going to be a significant challenge for us. But we understand that it's not just about the next couple of weeks or this particular season in isolation. It's about what the club's trying to do in the long term, to not just have success in any one given season, but to have a program that has the capacity for sustained success. And we're not there yet. We've got a long way to go, but hopefully we can continue that progress this season.
And I can imagine for basketball fans though in Melbourne, I mean, such an iconic team, the Melbourne Tigers, with such a long-standing history in Australian basketball. And as you were kind of mentioning, the goal to return to the NBL. I mean, how is that support going in the city of Melbourne to really get behind the team and to really help it achieve that goal of returning back to the NBL?
It's difficult. We have a highly successful, if not the most successful, junior development program in the country, and developed more Olympians than any other club in the country, and that's continued to flourish. Our youth league, both men and women, won the state competition here last season, and I think it's at the elite level with that being in the NBL and then no longer being in the NBL, it sort of set us back a couple of notches. So it's going to take time both on and off the floor in order for us to re-establish ourselves. But we're the oldest club in the country, established back in 1931, so it has a long, long history to draw on, and that's going to be something that's going to be pivotal in the re-emergence at the elite level with both our men and women's programs. So we understand that takes a little while, and community and fans, that they want to see, they want to be entertained and see successful teams, and we're not there yet. So that's going to take a little while, but fortunately, because of that history, that we've got a good base to start from, and hopefully we can do the right thing and show growth and get the support that we need off the floor in order that we can bring players to our club and to continue to develop players that are worthy of playing at the highest level. And if we do that, we should have success on the floor as well.
And yourself, Andrew, how are you finding coaching? I mean, obviously you coached Sydney during the NBL season. Now you're here coaching Melbourne. I mean, it's obviously a busy time for you. You don't seem to get much time off in between, but you must be enjoying it, sort of, to be to doing it so much as you are.
Yeah, it's for me, it's really just trying to honour the club and pay back and give something back to the club that's provided so much for me. So before I accepted the Sydney Kings job, I explained to them that my commitment to the Tigers, and that was completely understood. And in fact, it's something that we're trying to collaborate between the two clubs so there can be benefits for both. And certainly for me, from a coaching standpoint, it gives me the opportunity to try different things and look at different offensive and defensive structures at this very high level of C-ball that I can test and then take that back to the Sydney Kings, and similarly with what we did with Bo Lu, our Chinese player, that he came and spent some time with the Sydney Kings last season, and it's a way in which that we try to collaborate as much as we possibly can. But I think that also the Melbourne Tigers, that they have goals and long-term aspirations to play at the highest level as well. So it's one that there's a great relationship between the two clubs, and I'm very grateful to have the opportunity. It's hard because you don't get much time off, and it's pretty demanding at the C-ball level now because of the quality of the competition, but it's one that I thoroughly enjoy, and like I said, it's about trying to give back and provide some support for an organisation that's done so much for me personally.
And we definitely hope to see that day when we can see a Melbourne Tigers back in the NBL, and also a Hobart team, of course. That would definitely rekindle some memories. Now, Andrew, we're going to close things out. We've got a segment here called the High Noon 40, where basically we have a bunch of really 5 strange and wacky and fun questions which we'd like to ask all our guests. But before I get to those, just given that today's theme of the show is very basketball-centric, I'm wanting to find out, we've got the NBA playoffs about to start, of course, over in the US and Canada, and you, of course, did play in the NBA yourself. I'm intrigued to see what's your thoughts on how the playoffs are going to turn out. Who do you think's going to take the title this time around?
Well, there's been a lot of twists throughout the course of the season, but I suppose if you're looking in the East, it's hard to really go past the Cleveland Cavaliers, the defending champs, and LeBron James. Anytime a team's got LeBron James on it, they're going to be championship contenders. And then in the West, as it has been the last few years, it's probably got a little bit deeper in talent. And I'm hopeful for the San Antonio Spurs that they've got an Aussie and Patty Mills on the team, and a long history of Australian players, other Australian players competing there, and including myself. But so I'm hopeful for them. But so my heart's sort of with the San Antonio Spurs. But I think if Kevin Durant comes back, that you look at what the Golden State Warriors have been able to put together, and the way in which they've gone about it this season. They've had a few changes, a few injuries along the way, and personnel changes, but I think that they would be the team to beat in the West. And it's hard to know if you're saying, well, who do I back to win the whole thing? I suppose I'd have to go with the Golden State Warriors, but it's a real tough season to pick this season. It wouldn't surprise me if someone that in that sort of that third to fifth ranking would have a chance on both sides of the table.
Well, you give me a bit of hope there, Andrew, because I'm a Raptors fan, and we're sitting, I think, third in the East at the moment, and not as good a year I think we had last year. But I mean, can you give the Raptors any hope of a maiden championship?
Oh, for sure. No, they're right there. Although before yesterday, I was very buoyant about the Boston Celtics, but Cleveland went into Boston yesterday and gave them a bit of a touch-up. So that put them back in their box a little bit. But the Raptors, boy, do they have some fantastic support in their home court. So any time that they get to play in a series and certainly in that first series, they're going to have the home court advantage. They're going to be a tough proposition to beat. We saw how well they did last season. It's a little hard for me to see them winning the East, but not beyond the realms of possibility, but probably wouldn't be my pick.
All right. Well, good. You give me a bit of confidence there. All right, Andrew. What I need you to do for me right now, I'm going to get you to pick 5 random numbers between 1 and 40. Not all at once, just one at a time, and I've got a question relating to each number. So give me a number between 1 and 40.
We'll have to go with number 10.
Number 10. Here's a very interesting question. How many sandwiches have you ever eaten off the floor?
A full sandwich. We'll go back to my school days. I was very much in favour of the 5-second rule. Probably too many to mention because being very clumsy and perhaps not quite across all the health issues, I was more than happy to pick it up and give it a go if it was a tasty one.
That's what you do as a kid. That's allowed. That 5-second rule is what you live by for most of the time.
Of course.
Another number between 1 and 40.
Let's go with number 11.
Number 11. How many bottles of wine have you finished without ever actually pouring any wine into a glass?
Well, that's an easy one for me because I'm a teetotaler. I've never had a drink, so I've yet to consume a bottle of wine or even had a glass of wine. I've had sips of wine here and there just to taste it, but I've never got into wine, so 0 would be the answer to that one.
Safe, easy answer. There we go. All right, give us another one. Give us another number.
We've got to go with the great Michael Jordan and 23.
We've never had this one asked before. Good pick. Here we go. How many friendships have you ruined because you refuse to play a game of Monopoly mercifully?
I don't know about friendships, but certainly with my kids, they were keen as they went through it, and always too long, and always got into arguments. So certainly had some challenging times with the family, but I haven't been a big Monopoly fan throughout, so I haven't been able to damage too many friendships.
That's I like that question. 2 more. Right, give us one more number here, Andrew.
Let's go with number 4.
Number 4. All righty. How many bowls of cereal do you eat every single day, and why aren't you eating more?
I eat. It's part of my routine. I'm always at least one bowl.
One bowl. That's good.
I only do it. I can't eat. Unlike my kids, I can't tuck into the cereal at night and in the afternoon. So it's a breakfast food. But every morning, I tuck into a bowl of cereal.
So strictly morning only is cereal. You can't eat it past midday, basically. Okay, I like that rule.
That's it.
That works. All right, one more, Andrew. Give us one more number and we'll close it out.
Let's go with the great Dr. J. Let's go with the number 6.
Number 6. Okay, Andrew Gaze, the most probing question you might ever get asked in your life. How many days have you ever gone without showering?
Oh, crikeys. I can't remember exactly, but I've got to be nudging 2 or 3 when I was a young fella. Mm-hmm. I have to be nudging 2 or 3, which quite disgusting when you think about it, the odours and the smells. But I can't go a day without having a couple of showers these days.
Yeah.
But back when I was a youngster, I'm sure I would have knocked out a couple of days.
Yeah, that and eating the sandwiches, it's just youth. It's just what we do, Andrew. You know, it's how we all go. It's an Australian way. That's it.
Yeah. Of course. So I don't shower and I eat food off the floor. So how am I going?
Yeah, well, you're going well. I mean, that's going to help the Chargers tonight. Let's just say that way. They can use that to their strengths. They know your weaknesses now. So there's a bit of sledging going on the court there, you know. You stink, Andrew. Have a sandwich.
If you see me duck off to go to the toilet while the game's going on, you know why.
Yes, exactly. So the game tonight is at 8 o'clock, Dillon Entertainment Centre. The Hobart Chargers up against the Melbourne Tigers. Tickets still available. Come along, check it out and rekindle some classic memories, of course, too, from the glory days of basketball in this state. Andrew, looking forward to seeing you tonight, and I promise not to give you too much stick when I'm on that microphone tonight as well.
No problem at all.
Given we have been off air for a couple of weeks, and I keep saying that on this episode, we are bringing back the big guns to make things exciting. Cue the Jesus music because... Joshua Shoebridge. We still have to play Jesus Is Still Alright with Me. Josh, come on.
Oh my goodness. No, yeah.
What's the matter? You're not a DC Talk fan anymore? Bow tie, boxed up, all that kind of stuff?
Oh, man. I'm just going to leave that there, man. I'm not.
Wow. You've dissed your peeps. You're no longer with the DC Talk. I'm ashamed of you.
I'm with the DC Talk. I just think it's funny.
Yep, I do too. How are you, Josh? How is Australia? Are you all zombies yet?
Mate, I'm sitting in a car at a beautiful beach and recording with you right now. It's beautiful and it's beautiful weather. Hold on. I don't know. Because you can see. I can see. The listeners can't, but who cares about them?
Yeah,
can you see that?
That's pretty. That's a nice beach. You've got a nice view. That's winter
so
for
that's
you right now, right? Well, nearly winter.
It's nearly winter. From Monday, it'll be winter.
Which I'm jealous for. It's kind of odd right now being in a part of the world where it's actually warming up rather than cooling down. So I went to a beach this week, and a Canadian version of a beach, particularly in the Pacific Northwest, is generally logs and some dirty-looking grey sand. None of this beautiful golden sand that I was just seeing there too. So I do have to laugh at Canada's opinion of beaches.
What I don't get about Canada is there's no definite, like, I know the border goes straight across the state, so it's a nice big long line. You've got coastline on either side. What the hell's up north?
Snow, polar bears, people who bash seals.
Yeah, but how far up does the border go?
Well, the border itself is just, smack bang in the middle. But the border, it's kind of, like a line. And then, I think Canada basically owns the part of the Arctic Circle that is within the land borders. I think there's a piece of visible line at some point, which, hey, this is Alaska. Hey, this is Greenland. This is Russia. Like, that's kind of how it works. I think there's like a treaty that these countries have that is all signed off. So from my vast knowledge, that's what I know.
I know there is an island somewhere that is in dispute between Denmark and Canada, and every now and then, like, there's an invading party, and then, like, they'll put some Canadian alcohol, and then they'll bugger off, and then, like, 3-4 months later, the Danish will come and do the same thing. And
Yep. No, that's the thing. And I actually learned the other day that there is an island off the coast of Newfoundland, one of the provinces here, that is actually an island of France. So you can get on like a ferry in Canada and, like, I don't know, it's like probably like a half an hour boat trip, and you're on this island, which is French territory. You've got to use the euro. It's all like, France. So there's like, I could go to France basically quicker than I could to some states in America if I lived in that part of the country.
Oh, yeah, well, it's just like having New Caledonia here. Just to interrupt our regularly scheduled programming, I just had a headline pop up on my Apple device.
Oh, yes.
We could talk about this. I don't know if you want to. A zookeeper has been rushed to hospital after being mauled by a lion at an Australian zoo.
Uh-oh. Was it Zoodoo? Was it in Tasmania?
No. Shoalhaven Zoo.
Where's that?
That's up the coast. That's about 4 hours north of me, where I'm at.
Right. Well, that's not very good for that person then.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
Sorry for that
tricks
person.
for kids.
Yes, exactly. Kind of, worried me when they're thinking that it might be Zoodoo, because I don't know if you've ever been to frickin' Zoodoo and the cages they keep those lions in. It's embarrassing.
Well, we fed the cubs last time I was there.
Yeah, I did that.
And I think it's funny, like, a lion in Tasmania.
Yeah.
Cool.
They had tigers as well, but then they died.
No. They had a tiger. They had one tiger, and it died, but they've got it stuffed.
They do, yeah. And it's like, it's such a weird thing because, like, it's near Richmond. It's basically like an overpriced wildlife park with a tiny enclosure with 1, 2, 3 lions in it, and a couple of meerkats, a monkey, and a dead stuffed tiger. And look, we've got a zoo in Tasmania. Get fucked.
Oh no, you've got the emus.
Oh,
you've got the ostrich.
You've got the Tassie Devils.
The camels. They've got that big ass, weird ass African cow.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and so they have zebras. I remember going in the little
they've got
safari
zebras,
thing, and there's but it's just like a zoo to me is like a big open place. I mean, I think you've been to San Diego Zoo. I've been to San Diego Zoo. I mean, that's an amazing zoo. It's like huge. It's probably the most famous zoo in the world, and laid out, and it's like what you imagine a zoo would be. But this is just somebody's backyard in Richmond. They've gone, hey Cheryl, let's get ourselves a couple of animals and charge admission.
Well. There's a zoo about an hour and a half north of me called Mogo Zoo, and that's it. Like when you drive there, it's like, oh, this is just another zoo. But then you go in there, it's actually really well laid out. The animals are really like they've got an amazing menagerie of animals, and the way it's laid out, it's great. It's a huge place too. It's like it's really massive actually.
Well, it reminds me kind of. I mean, I've not watched the show, but everyone talked about it like a month or two ago. Freaking Tiger King, where like all these Americans.
I never watched it either.
But I mean,
I don't get it.
There's some weird laws, aren't there, in some parts of America where you can basically keep these animals as pets and shit, and I don't know, like. Good on them.
That's America though. America's just. They're weird.
Well, I mean, I can see it. I can walk down the street and I can see it. So that's kind of odd. I feel like I'm Sarah Palin when she's like, I can see Alaska from my living room. I mean, I can't see it from my living room, but I can see America from down the street, if that counts.
Really? I didn't realize you were that close.
Well, I mean, Vancouver Island is kind of in a, like the tip, you can actually get on a boat from Victoria and go to the States. So you can go to Port Angeles, which is kind of like a little port in Washington State. And where I can see, so there's this really tall mountain, I believe it's called Mount Washington. I could be mistaken. It might be a different mountain that I'm thinking of. But there is a very tall mountain on a clear day that you can see from across the ocean, and that is the US. So, yeah.
What side of the Canada? I thought you were on the East Coast.
No, I'm west. I'm very west.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that makes me happy because you know what?
I do. He's a good guy.
So when I come and see you around the same time, roughly, give or take a few weeks, Star Wars Celebration in Anaheim.
Right.
So going to go do it.
Well, you know what?
That's actually on my bucket list to go down to Disneyland to go to the Star Wars place.
I tell you what, and if I do this, it might piss Mallory off. We're probably delaying our honeymoon by about a month because she'll have exams after our wedding now that we've changed the wedding date. So I might be able to do a sneaky and come down with you and just to really piss her off and say, hey, by the way, going to Disneyland. Don't mind me.
When I said that to Naomi, I said, I want to go to Galaxy's Edge. I want to go to Star Wars Celebration. She goes, "Well, you'll be going by yourself." Yeah, okay.
Well, I think
you do you.
I think it might be about a 19-hour drive directly from where I am. I think I could be right. I could be wrong. I'm just trying to quickly look at this if I kind of can do this on air right now. A 21-hour drive from where I am right now. So
okay, so that's it. So we'd look at flying then.
Well, I mean, road trip. We can go through Seattle, go through Portland, go down through Northern California. I've not been to Oregon. That's one of the states I have not been to, and it's not that far from where I am now. So I will be frequenting Seattle when I can travel. Seattle is one of my favorite cities in the US. And it's only 4 hours away, so I'll be going there as much as I can.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and Vancouver's only just over the river as well.
I want to go see the Space Needle. That's actually
I've been up it. It's great. I've been up the top of the Space Needle. It's worth every penny. I've been to the original Starbucks. Yeah. I went to the Boeing factory. The largest building in the world is in Seattle. It's a fantastic place to visit. So I definitely recommend it. But one thing that I think I'm sad that we might miss out on, I mean, we might just be in the vicinity of the last week of the season, depending on how the seasons work out. Of course, my bachelor party, I'm hoping to go over to Vancouver so we can go watch a hockey game. So I'm hoping that will still be the case, given we're sort of changing it up.
Going to Anaheim and seeing a hockey game.
Well, they're one of my two teams. I've never seen the Ducks play, so I've got to,
I've seen them once when I was a kid.
I was meant to see them, but we got lost in Chicago, and that's a whole other story. What else has been happening in Joshville? Anything exciting to report?
No, not much. Just lots of work and lots of COVID-19 fun stuff.
Which did you get many COVID-19 cases in the Bega Valley?
7.
Wow. Not many at all then. That's half your population.
Not many. Nah, quarter. Quarter.
Quarter.
So here's the funny thing, right? Okay, so we're going to talk about my valley. We're going to talk about this. So yeah, we've had COVID-19. We had 7 cases. One poor bloke had it for at least 8 weeks, and now during that case, the New South Wales Office of Local Government has delayed our local government election that was meant to happen in September. They've delayed it a year, so it'll be happening next year. 2 weeks after that happened, we then had our Labor member, our federal member, he decided to resign.
I think you might have talked about this last time from memory.
Oh, and more things have happened. So moving forward, so Labor then picked our the then current mayor, now former mayor, to be the candidate for Labor. She's an absolute idiot. Just saying.
Hello to her if she's listening.
Oh, she won't listen to this.
No one does. It's fine.
No, that's it. And then the Liberal Party just last week picked their candidate. She's a really nice lady. I quite like her. And they've set the date for our by-election, July 4th.
Oh.
Yep, July 4th. So and now we've got all these issues coming up with the council being in debt, sacking people without reason, raising rates because they don't have the sense to cut costs in any way, shape or form, and financial misappropriation. So now there's a big thing on trying to get the local government election decision reversed so we actually have a local government election in September.
And will you be running again?
Yes. I'm actually already a registered candidate. So before they move the date, I've registered as a candidate.
Right. So are you going to put the signs up around the place again and kind of, do the...
Oh, yeah, do all that. Do all the fun stuff. So
and how many older people get elected?
Older?
Like older men. I'm trying to be politically correct by saying older people. Right.
Councillors is what we called here.
Okay.
Yeah, nine councillors.
Right. And how many generally stand?
Last election there was 27 candidates.
Wow.
The year before the election before that there was only 13. I can tell you now, I reckon it'll end up being a high number again, I think.
Was I not there last time when you were in the process of running? Was that 3-4 years? I was there 2016 when I was there. Would have been?
No. Yeah, no, that is correct because Gabriel turns 4.
Yeah.
In a month.
Wow.
And a month. Far out. He turned in a month and a week.
I was there July 4 because we went to your friend's. That your American friend had a July 4 barbecue thing.
My sister-in-law. Right.
Yes. Thank you. That too.
Yeah. That's right. And so with that, moving forward with that one, so I was in the process at that point. I think I'd only just registered as a candidate. And I wasn't on the campaign trail then because we weren't allowed to campaign. The election campaign season would have started halfway through August.
Right. Okay. But I remember watching one of your debates, like where you got up on stage and you talked. I remember you had a video link to it, and I remember watching it. So.
Yeah, that was done about a week before the election day, before polling day.
And how many votes did you get?
Yeah, not many.
Did you get more? Did you get more in the state election or the council?
I actually got 100 times more in the state election.
Well, there you go.
So I'm actually hoping to use my state election as a bit of a springboard. People know my name now. People know what I mean. And I used that first election. I didn't expect to get in. I was using it as an education. Like the only way you're going to learn is by doing. And so I got to understand the terminology. I got to understand the process. I understand what I can and can't say, what I should be doing. And now this time I have a really good idea on what I need to do. So starting basically for fundraisers, poster placage, getting people a specific polling booths instead of going all or like just circulating around like I did. That was a bit of a mistake that I made on my part. But again, we're going to see changes due to COVID-19 when that happens, and it's going to be a very interesting time.
Well, I look forward to seeing the ads. I want to hear, authorized and written by Joshua Shoebridge. I want to hear you do the super fast thing and do attack campaigns. I want you to just randomly choose somebody and be like, Jenny Smith has COVID-19. Don't vote for her. Authorized by Joshua Shoebridge.
Oh, no. Okay. Well, one of the things we are going to do, I can actually talk about this because she's the current person that we wanted to have a go at is now running in the federal by-election. And so we actually have written up an entire campaign against this one certain person because of how inept she is. And so she wanted to raise your rates by $2 million over 4 years. She wanted to do this. She wanted to do this. We got this massive attack campaign already planned. We had that planned for the council election. Now we're just reformulating it to support the Liberal Party during the next election coming up in July.
I want actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I want you to do South Park movie style when they're all in the UN and they're basically, the Canadians are there going you can't do this, you can't do this. And they go to the American guy and he just sits there and he looks to the left and he looks to the right and he goes, fuck Canada. I just want you to just sit there in front of the TV and go, fuck Jenny Smith. Authorized and written by Joshua Shoebridge. That's all I want to see. That's it.
Oh, no, man, that's tempting.
Jenny Smith eats her own boogers and doesn't wash her hands after doing a poo. Written and authorized by Joshua Shoebridge, Big Valley, Canberra. There you go. You get all these ideas that you can use.
They're all from South Park. Not is that episode where Cartman becomes this extreme right-wing political reporter for the school morning announcements.
Oh, I don't think I've seen that one.
Oh, it's so funny because he's he doesn't accuse people, he asks questions. And so he's like, Jenny Hesberg, whatever Stan's girlfriend's name is.
Wendy.
Is it true? Yeah, Wendy. Is it true that you hate Smurfs? It's why are you accusing me of hating Smurfs? I'm not accusing you of anything. I'm just asking the question.
So you're not denying that you hate Smurfs?
Is it true that you killed Smurfs?
Oh, brilliant, brilliant. Josh, it's always a pleasure having you on. I know every time we get you on, we say next time we'll get you on, we'll do Forget the Lyrics. We will do it one of these days because we need to. Maybe the next time we'll organise it and we can literally just do an entire episode where we just do it because we're overdue, my friend.
Oh, mate, we are. And just so everyone's aware, the current break between me coming on is not my fault.
It's not. No, it isn't. This time is actually mine.
No.
Josh and I sat down and said we would do a weekly schedule, but in the last 3 weeks, I have cancelled on him basically every single time. So, my bad.
You'd move it a day and you're like, oh, I can't do it. Oh, moved it a day. Oh, I can't do it.
Yep. So we will get the schedule rolling.
So do you know what I have to? Do you know what I have to say? Screw Canada.
Fair call. Fair call. Josh, thank you for joining us.
Oh, mate, see ya.
It's time to close it all out for another week. It's been good to come back on the airwaves here for you after a few weeks off, and hopefully Miss Mallory Foster will be sitting with me in a week's time, and hopefully we'll be back in a week's time and not have another 4-week delay. If you do like my voice and want to hear some other content that we put out that isn't just the Brink and kind of a bit boring every now and then, of course, the Oz Network doing film recaps out there, Australian Survivor Archives. If you're into the history of Australian Survivor, listen to that. 007, if you like James Bond, listen to that. Other things that are out there as well, plenty to keep you occupied wherever you are listening on the planet Earth. Just search for my name on podcast servers. You'll find them there. And if you don't want to hear me and you want to hear other people, search for their names. You'll find them too. If you like the show, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. You can subscribe. We're all good podcasts are downloadable. Also, we're all bad podcasts. See, I can't even speak properly. I was going to say bad podcasts are downloadable, and that's where you'll find ours because we can't speak properly. And that's generally the sign of a bad podcast. I think I was going somewhere with that, but it kind of failed. Thanks for tuning in. It's been fun to be back. My name is Ben. Keep sucking those oranges, Hoba, Victoria, Cargill, and good night.